program, sir. Munish ji, Bhatia ji, with your permission, should I start it?
Sure, sure. Go ahead, go ahead.
Okay. So, most welcome. Namaskar. I'm Rajesh Gogna. I'm the Secretary General of Human Rights Defense International, and our organization is committed to the concerns of human rights concerns of Indian diaspora, and we had been conducted program in support of Indian diaspora wherever their rights are violated around the world. And today, we are having this webinar to understand uh, the concept of Indian diaspora, because the Indian diaspora, which we understand in HRDI, in the Indian diaspora, which Government of India understands as per the Citizenship Act and other related laws, are altogether different concepts. And earlier we had this person of Indian origin, then they were shifted to the overseas citizens of India. So they are all basically, those people were having the roots in this country at the most in the last century. But as far as HRDI is concerned, our diaspora goes back to Romas, which left this country about 1,000 years ago. We still consider them as part of our Indian diaspora. Then we also consider our brothers and sisters in Pakistan, Bangladesh, and other places as Indian diaspora. We also support them. We are continuously conducting programs for their advocating their cause. So we are trying to cover the Indian diaspora to the extent possible. And when we talk about the Indian diaspora, then our dear friend and activist, fellow activist, Munish Gupta ji, is a person who is associated with this, the very discussion of this Indian diaspora when it started in this country. Munish ji was there. When this OCI law, OCI cards were inducted and OCI provision was there in the Citizenship Act, he was there. When the OCI was, when the PIO was shifted to OCI, Mr. Munish Gupta was there. He was, from the last 30 years, each and every step which has taken place in India by the Government of India or by the people of India or by the Indian diaspora around the world, Munish ji is always available everywhere. Everywhere. He's always there. So we have such a wonderful person with us. So, but sir, when you are there with us, then we have so many questions to ask you, because we want to not only understand that what is the concept of a person of Indian origin, and we also want to know from you that what are the expectation of the Indian diaspora from the Government of India, what are the expectation of the persons of Indian origin from the people of India, from the organizations of India, and to what extent the Government of India is living to their expectations. And we also want to know that as people meet us, the people of Indian origin, and they tell us that they want to have a right to vote in India. So whether there is a possibility to have a dual citizenship in India, whether they would be having right to vote, would ever have a right to vote in India. So these are also some things which in HRDI, in our activists, want to know from you. So your scope of your today's presentation is very, very wide, and we are thankful to you, and we are quite confident that this vastness of our concerns would be duly addressed by you. And apart from Munish Gupta ji, we also have the uh, privilege to have Mr. N. Ram Prasad, who's the Director of Overseas Indian Division, Ministry of External Affairs. Again, a person who is there with the Overseas Indian Affairs. So some of the concerns which I have addressed, I hope that Mr. Ram Prasad would also address them. And we have our young friend with us, who is the Director of Invest India, which is India's non-profit venture under the Department of Promotion of Industry and Internal Trade, Ministry of Commerce and Industry. So what is this concept of Invest India? How the Indian diaspora is going to support this concept? We will be coming back to Mr. Abhinav Mankotia after Mr. Ram Prasad ji. So, sir, without saying more about it, because when such learned persons are with us, then as far as moderator is concerned, he should just keep quiet. And I invite my dear friend, supporter, fellow activist, and mentor in the field of Indian diaspora, Shri Munish Gupta ji, who is, apart from being a journalist and motivator. Is also the chairman of the PIO TV. He is also the vice chairperson of the PIO Chamber of Commerce, and so many feathers in his cap. If I start just reading them, I've got about 15 and 16. It will take 6 to 7 minutes. So I avoid them because his profile we are sharing in our website also. So over to Manish Gupta ji. Welcome, sir.
Thank you, Rajesh ji. But first, I must pay my regards to somebody who's been a patron and supported us in all our attempts in India to fan out these issues of the diaspora through PIO Chamber of Commerce HRDI. So we are very privileged. I feel privileged to see here the presence of Shri Professor Rajkumar Bhatia ji. Thank you, Bhatia sir. And many other friends and senior colleagues who are here. I recognize Baltej Singh Manji, who has himself lived overseas. But thankful to you, Rajesh, following our discussion some weeks ago on this subject. And I know that you are intimately involved with the subject because you are a standing counsel for the government of India on these issues of concern and importance to the Indian diaspora. And you represent the Ministry of Home Affairs, External Affairs, Cabinet Secretariat, and you deal with these issues every day. But let me take things from a diaspora perspective, completely diaspora perspective. And here it's very important for me. May I just interject and ask, Vedansh, is this going on Facebook Live? Because we had made arrangements for Facebook Live transmission to also be on.
Yeah, there is some technical error while doing so. But I'm still trying to do this.
Okay. So let me go back a little bit in time and tell you the reason why Rajesh ji said so many things about me as diaspora. Well, 33 years ago, I started a journey to move from India to the United States. I had no clue that I will, but I started India's first private television news agency with a friend of mine. It's called ANI. I'm sure that most of you would know. So the creation of ANI made me travel to America to start an office in the West, because we said, why should an Indian agency not have a presence in the Western Hemisphere and America? India's news should become important to everybody. And so we created that, and then we became very successful. But in the process, of course, I went there as a 22-year-old, and then I settled down in America. I became a green card holder, then I became a citizen. And of course, it led to my marriage and my children being born. And as soon as you create a family, you realize, oh my God, it doesn't hit you and dawn on you that you have become from just an Indian to a person of Indian origin and now an Indian diaspora. But more importantly, you have given birth to children who are Indian, because you, your wife, the whole family is Indian, but they are born in a separate country. And these are the people who are citizens of the world tomorrow, and they are people of Indian origin. So in 1989, a big movement was created across the world of bringing together the Indian diaspora to do two things. One, we wanted to celebrate that the Indian diaspora had come of age. We had become affluent, we had become influential, we were also making a dent in the polity of countries. There were 3 prime ministers of Indian origin, or president and prime ministers of Indian origin in countries of Fiji, Guyana, and Trinidad and Tobago. But unfortunately, all 3 were deposed. That means while the Indians overseas had created a mark, they were not able to sustain it, and they were thrown out for reasons that we believe were discriminatory. So in 1989, the Global Organization of People of Indian Origin was created from a movement of Indian diaspora, which was confined to America, called National Federation of Indian American Associations, which is still very big. There are 7,000 chapters of NFIA in America itself. So from this movement, we created a global movement, and it became a very big movement because the Indian community realized that we needed to have a say in our countries and across the globe. Otherwise, how would we help the Indian community in Fiji, where they are facing discrimination, or Guyana, or Trinidad, and later Suriname, and many other countries, even Mauritius or Malaysia. So this global movement was born, and until then, and I must say this with due respect, while we all understood that we are Indians and we hailed from India, whether we were 4 generations old or 1 generation old, or still NRIs holding Indian passports, but till the 70s and 80s, India sort of treated its diaspora at an arm's length and said, "ठीक है, they are Pravasi Bharatiya, they are Bharatvanshis," but really there was no engagement, there was no connect. But then situation turned around later when slowly after dialogue that Gopio and many other organizations, especially I should go back in time to Antarrashtriya Sahyog Parishad, which is a sister organization, which was started some 40 some years ago. And it was started mainly to reach out to the PIO community, which is persons of Indian origin. So there were these movements going on, and India realized slowly that India had to engage with its diaspora for a variety of reasons, knowledge reasons, emotional reasons, political reasons, as India was becoming a power in the world, so power reasons. But Indian diaspora had its own aspirations, and those aspirations were primarily emotional at that time. So what I'm going to do, Rajesh ji, is for the purpose of this discussion, keep it very simple because, history will take a long time. So today, overseas Indians, I would bracket them under a two-word name, overseas Indians. Overseas Indians come under 2 or 3 different categories. One is NRIs that all of us know. It's a long-standing name. Indian passport holders who start to go and live overseas either temporarily or permanently for the sake of a job or creating opportunity overseas. They hold the Indian passport. Sometimes they live on visas in different countries, long-term visas, short-term visas, or become permanent residents of another country. The second category is people who for 200 plus years and even for time after that have been migrating outside of India. One, because in times immemorial there were fishermen or traders or the kings and princely states sent them to do trading, and they settled in countries like Malaysia and mostly the Far East from India. And there were the other people. So Malaysia, Singapore, this whole belt, Indonesia, you'll find a lot of people who have lived in Southeast Asia. And then during the time that the Western powers occupied India, during the imperial rule of India, the French, the Dutch, the British, and many others started exporting Indians with the lure of opportunity and jobs and better future by creating, indentured labor. Whereas these people thought they were going for a job, they were basically taken as an indentured labor, a glorified term for slaves, and taken across to countries which included Fiji and then Mauritius, South Africa, many, many countries. And then ended up all the way in the Western Hemisphere to French territories, Dutch territories, and English territories, such as Guyana, Suriname, Trinidad, Tobago, and even, the French territories. I'm forgetting the name, but there is 2, I think Mr. Ramprasad will later remind me because he deals with them every day. But these are people who have migrated over a period of 200 years during the imperial rule of India. Now, what has happened is, after India's independence, and I think about 10, 15 years after India's independence, a bunch of Indians who had either connectivity with Europe or America because of old migration, and some of this old migration in America goes back to the railroad creation. So that's a history. But a lot of people started to move to Europe and America and such developed countries to take up jobs, to start further education, higher education. And they then became permanent residents of these countries, later acquired passports of these countries. And today, this is a category which is known as OCIs, or Overseas Citizens of India. So there are, broadly speaking, these 3 categories: NRIs, there is PIOs, and there is OCIs. Even though Government of India, which started some years ago with 2 separate cards called a Person of Indian Origin PIO card and OCI card, had 2 separate cards, but later merged it into one for the sake of making it simple and easy to handle. But in the process, a lot of people or persons of Indian origin who had aspired to become connected to India with this long-term visa card or whatever you may call it, citizenship card, it's not truly a citizenship card because there's no dual citizenship, have been left just thinking and wanting. So there are these 3 categories of overseas Indians. But there is a fourth one, which is taking shape now. If you look in the history, if you look at the history of India in the last 10, 15 years, as India is really rising and shining and growing, and Indian youth that is educated overseas, and sometimes their families are well off, they come back to India, but they continue to travel and establish businesses overseas or work with overseas companies. So we have created a completely new breed of youth, young Indians who are exploring the world, are investing across the world in developed countries and in developing countries. I mean, I have with me a bunch of my colleagues from Africa and from Latin America and from other parts of the world who have only in the last 15, 20 years gone and invested in these countries and today have become permanent residents or even citizens of these countries, and they are creating a further new breed. So I think in the years to come, we will see maybe even 1 million, 2 million Indians today who are traveling and investing. And besides them, another one, the last category that I should name, Rajeshji, the fifth category, is the young Indian diaspora children. The fifth, sixth generations in some cases, and at least the fourth generation, who are now well educated. They are no longer children of indentured labor. They don't look at themselves like that. They excel in knowledge, they excel in business. They have done very well in influence and affluence. They are political leaders, they are social leaders, and they are everywhere. And these people also want to connect with India. So the big question for us as the Indian diaspora, and I am one because I took American citizenship, and I'm happy with that. But I remain proudly Indian. I come to India, I stay in India for as long as I feel like. But the problem is that today, because of how well India has done as a country, as people, economically, also in terms of a resurgence of Indianness. You know, some people may not like it, but whether it's solving the Kashmir problem or creating, for the Hindus their own temple, which was a long-standing 500-year-old issue, it has created a desire in the minds of many people, and the Indian economy and Indian science and technology, and I could just go on and on. Science and technology, innovation, economy, religion, tourism, Indian educational institutions are all magnets, at least for the Indian diaspora. And we want to have our kids come and learn here. We want to have our kids come and do business here. We want our kids to therefore have this bond with India, which Indian government offered to us through this nomenclature of PIO cards, OCI cards, now only remaining with OCI cards. And I think a lot of us, a lot of people who are not somehow able to get into that classification or the rules and regulations that the government of India, mostly the Home Ministry, has put in place for Indians to apply for, overseas Indians to apply for and become OCI card holders. We are requesting the government of India to take a look at it, to continuously come up with ideas, working with other countries. For example, in Mauritius, a beautiful example I must give. Some years ago, we had suggested to the government of India that Mahatma Gandhi Institute, which keeps a record of all the Indians that migrated to Mauritius, should be made the institutions that should authenticate that a person is a bona fide person of Indian origin. They will look into the records of their country, they will work with their country and certify that, because government of India cannot certify in a foreign country who is a person of Indian origin. We may have an Indian name, but we can't be certified. So like that, if government of India can work with other countries and create other institutions, lot of Indian people of Indian origin would like to and aspire to become card holders, OCI card holders, because today that affinity has been created by India. And Rajesh, you and I were talking, and I am of the firm opinion that since 2014, a new wave, a new resurgent wave has been created by the current Prime Minister, by going out and meeting the diaspora, by listening to them, by interacting with them continuously, by asking the Indian missions to interact with them, other ministries to interact with them, to harness their power, their influence, their knowledge, and bring it to India, and also support them within our countries wherever we live in different ways. So I think this being the case, a lot of Indians, overseas Indians today are interested in expanding in extending our friendship, bond, our relationship with India, and particularly for our future generation. Now I know time is short and Ram Prasad ji has to go. So if, for that reason, may I request Rajesh ji for you to turn to Ram Prasad ji and let him make his few remarks before he has to leave.
Okay, Ji. Welcome. Thank you very much, Munishi. We will come back to you because we are not going to leave you, as some of our participants are going to, they have many queries, and you are the most appropriate person to answer them. So now I request Mr. N. Ram Prasad Ji. He's the Director of the Overseas Indian Affairs Division, Minister of External Affairs, and he had been with the Ministry of for several years, and also the nodal officer for the Parvasi Bharatiya Divas. So, sir, I already had many concerns, not legal, but other concerns of the Indian diaspora. Munishi has also addressed many, underlined many. So we wish that being the representative of the government of India and being the director of the Overseas Indian Affairs, uh, kindly, kindly answer our queries, our concerns.
Okay. Thank you, Rajesh ji, and thank you, Munish ji. First of all, I would like to congratulate the PIO, CCI, and the
HRDI, Human Rights Defense International.
For organizing today's webinar. I think it's most opportune, and it will also, it serves as a good platform to address all the concerns that our PIOs and NRIs and also the OCIs have. Munish ji in his speech has practically outlined, with his vast knowledge, most of the, the differences between the NRI and the PIO and the OCI. So what I have done is, in consultation with, I try to get the MHA people on board, but they had other issues, but they were kind enough to share with me a document in which they have, they have differentiated very neatly, the difference between an NRI, a PIO, and an OCI. So, if you will allow me to share the screen,
oh, sir. Please, please.
I'll be emailing this document also to Munish ji, so he can freely share it with all your. You have disabled my screening. Can you enable?
No, I'm just starting it, sir. Just wait for a second.
Okay. So I'll and that
Vedansh,
is.
आप करोगे?
And they also given us a lot of FAQs, which people frequently ask, and which so that too I'll be sharing with you.
Mr. Prasad, you are co-host now. Now you can share the screen comfortably.
Oh, okay, thanks. So I'll just give you this. Yeah. Share. So if you can see my screen now.
Yeah, comfortably, sir.
Yeah. So
Overseas Citizen of India comparative chart on NRI persons and Indian origin.
Yeah. So this document I will share. I will not bother to read through because it's pretty long. So I hope this will address most of your queries. In fact, Munish ji has been kind enough to do my own job for me, half of it. But any gaps which may remain in the knowledge.
It will be great to.
So see, you have basically earlier there was a duplicity of documents. One had a PIO card, one had an OCI card. But the government of India saw that, the PIO card is not actually giving all the benefits that the OCI card holder has. And there was also no purpose in having two different categories of persons of Indian origin, and with a view to also to reduce discrimination and also to simplify things. All PIO card holders with effect from 2015 were deemed to be OCI card holders, and they were also given a certain time to convert to the OCI cards. So as you can see from this chart, the OCI card holders have a host of benefits which the PIO card holders we can also now enjoy. So it is with a progressive and progressive mindset that this step was introduced. So this document will be shared with you, and I have also, if you can, I'll just give you another one. And these are, frequently asked questions which we have prepared for OCI card holders. Most of it you probably already know, but then for those.
Let me interrupt, sir. Kindly explain about this eligibility, because most of us don't know what are the eligibility requirements for being a OCI card holder. Kindly explain a little, sir.
So it is there. So as you can see, OCI card holders the eligibility is a person who was a citizen of India after the commencement of the Constitution, which is the effective date for it is 26/1/1950, and who was also eligible to become a citizen of India as on 26 January 1950, or who belonged to a territory that became a part of India after 15th of after independence, which is 15th of August 1947. And he also is a child or a grandchild or a great grandchild of a citizen in the above three categories, or who is a minor child, or whose both parents are citizens of India, or he is a spouse of a foreign origin of a citizen of India, who is registered under Section 7A of the Citizenship Act. So these are the things. So you can see the eligibility requirements on your screen right now. Are you able to see that?
Yes, comfortably, sir. Please continue.
Yeah. So this document too shall be shared with you. So you can widely disseminate to all your constituents and your members. And there was a concern expressed by Munish ji that certain categories of PIOs, persons of Indian origins, once they've converted from a PIO to a OCI, are not eligible to get an OCI card under these regulations. So this concern has been expressed by many countries, including Malaysia and some Girmitia countries also. All such cases are mission abroad in that country is the first port of call for all Indian associations. They then take up the matter with the concerned territorial divisions, who in turn take it up with the MHA for any possible amendment on a case-to-case basis. So this is still a work in progress, and it is the intention of the government of India that to bring as many as Pravasis or persons of Indian origins, to extend them all the possible benefits, of course, within our own constraints. So the intention is there. It is still work in progress. And sooner or later, we hope to see all these concerns addressed. So with that, this I hope we leave it at that. And there was another concern expressed by I think either Munish ji or Rajesh ji, which was regarding the voting rights. Even though that wasn't the subject of today's this thing, but I'm happy that you brought it up, because having worked with this, I'll take this opportunity to address, or not address, but rather enlighten the participants in this regard. This thing has been taken up very frequently by all our Pravasis. I just call them Pravasis because then to call it a OCI or a PIO will needlessly concern. So it is a Pravasi is a all-encompassing term. So, this has been occupying the attention of the government for quite some time now. In fact, right now the NRIs, this facility of voting abroad is only available to the NRIs, and they are eligible to enroll as overseas electors. But the demand is that of able to vote from abroad of all the NRIs. So in this, the matter had been engaged the attention of the Supreme Court also, and a committee was constituted by the Election Commission of India, which actually considered various options, and they recommended postal ballot, including proxy voting for NRIs. And bill was subsequently moved in the Lok Sabha to amend the Representation of People's Act, and which enables overseas electors to cast their vote by proxy. In 2018, the Lok Sabha had passed the bill, and it was also listed in the Rajya Sabha, but it could not be taken up for consideration in the House since the elections were announced. So therefore, the bill was lapsed, and this was also taken up by the overseas community in the recently held Pravasi Bharati Divas on 9th January 2020 with EAM. So after that, EAM had taken up the matter with our Ministry of Law and Justice, who in turn had taken up the matter, in cabinet also. So in fact, a couple of months ago, we received word from the EAM, Minister of Law and Justice had written to our EAM saying it had been considered in the cabinet, and for the time being, it has been deferred. But the issue continues to be live and continues to engage and occupy the attention of the Government of India. And we hope to see a very being brought to a logical and fruitful conclusion. So that is the status of the case. So I hope I have been able to satisfactorily address your concerns. And in fact, I would also take this opportunity to bring up one more issue which neither Munish ji or Rajesh ji had taken up, which about which we have been receiving a lot of queries recently, because which is the tax status of a person,
Right.
which gets amended because of the recent Finance Act. In the Finance Act, earlier the criteria for being called an Indian resident was, I think, 182 days residency in India. So now that thing has been brought down to 120 days. So, and with the current COVID concerns, because of the lockdown, because of the the suspension of flights, many NRIs who had got stuck in India unwittingly became a tax resident in India for no fault of theirs. They had wanted to go back, but because of suspension of flights, they could not go. So they had also raised these concerns with us. We in turn raised it with the Ministry of Finance. And I'm very pleased to tell you that they have now issued a notification in which they have basically, for the previous financial year, which is 2019-20, for the period from the beginning of the lockdown, they have decided to condone it, and that period would not be taken into consideration for determining the tax status of an NRI. Also, they have promised to, they also brought out a press release in which they said a similar notification would be brought out for the next financial year, which is 2020-21. So this too I would like to share with you, and those notifications too I shall be happy to share. I'll be emailing it to Munish ji, and I'm sure he'll be circulating it to all the all the members, and it's open for wide circulation. So with this, I hope I have another meeting to go to, and I wish you all the best. And you can be rest assured that we in the Ministry of External Affairs, we continue to remain actively engaged with the diaspora, and look for ways and means to address all their concerns. The Government of India's also priority is also diaspora engagement, and I wish to assure you in this respect. Thank you. If there's any other questions, if you can quickly shoot, I'll be happy to take.
any of the participants want to ask any question to Mr. Ramprasad?
I
You're
wanted
most
to add,
welcome.
Rajesh ji, I just wanted to add that now, see, another benefit that OCI card holders get is that before the foreigner category, before even opening India for travel to foreigners category, OCI cards are now allowed. OCI card holders are now allowed to freely travel in and out of India. Right, Ramprasad ji?
Sorry, I didn't get that.
Sorry, sir.
OCI card holders are now allowed to travel in and out of the country
Yeah,
based
yeah.
on the flights,
Yeah.
right?
Based on that, that travel bubbles.
Yeah, yeah.
They have got travel bubble arrangements with the US, UK, France, and a couple of countries. For that, a notification is there. So for those countries, yes, they are freely allowed to travel.
Yeah. So
And
that's another benefit you get as OCI card holder. Sorry.
Yes. Yes.
something which I want to ask, not in the capacity
Please.
of being my official standing, but very often there are court litigation by these OCI people when they are blacklisted or whenever their cards are suspended, and there's lot of litigation. So what the government of India is doing about it? Why should have that much of litigation? Why the government agencies be so sensitive about the violation of the say blacklist code and all other things? And why can't this litigation be brought down to the minimum level?
Well, as a government servant, I would definitely like to have the least litigation possible, but unfortunately, this is not my domain. This OCI card and the blacklist and all, it's all domain of the MHA, Ministry of Home Affairs. So I think they would be the best persons to answer this. It doesn't belong to my ministry, so I would like to be excused on this.
Anybody else, especially the youngsters, Rajesh ji, who might have a quick question for Ramprasad ji? Otherwise, we would leave.
Okay. So someone can, if anyone is interested in asking question, they can raise their hand or just start asking question, or otherwise we say thank you, Mr. Ramprasad ji. Okay, fine. Okay. Thank you very much, Mr. Ramprasad ji, for being with us.
Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
It is the first time we are being with us, and we will keep on bothering you again and again.
It's my pleasure. It's my pleasure to be interacting. In fact, the COVID pandemic has in fact brought us all very close together. Earlier, the next meeting I would be attending would be with Uttar Pradesh. So normal circumstances, I would have had to
just
waste 2 days first to go there, and then stay there and then attend just for a half an hour meeting. I'll be wasting 2 days. So this technology, in fact, has enabled us and helped us to become more productive. And I was also talking to Munish ji the other day. We can also do a webinar on the ways, in which post-pandemic, what are the opportunities and the challenges. So that too would be a very good subject to talk on, but that would be on another occasion. And today I'll take your leave. Thank you very much, everybody.
Thank you.
Listening to me patiently.
Good afternoon. I'll just, if I may come in.
Please, sir. Please.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Mr. Ramprasad ji from MEA. One of the concern you just spoke last word or last phrase that, opportunities for NRIs who want to invest back in India. So I'll request you to share us through our platform such opportunities where we have some special grants, whether it is for land, loan or anything, depending on the condition of our government. And apart from that, if we have, like you initially said, one document about the PIO, NRIs and all, so that document also we will expect, so that we roll it through our own community and members and see how best we can collaborate. And we want to work very closely with MEA. Most of the time, the information which is being rolled out by MEA is not reaching to us, especially for commerce and trade. So those kind of information, if we get on time, it will be great. That is, thank you.
Yeah, sure. We try to actually put out as much information as possible on our website. But otherwise, with these webinars, we can always, fill the gaps, whatever has not, has not been able to be disseminated. We'll be happy to do so. And once again, I thank PIO, CCI, and the HRDI for organizing this webinar today, and hope to have more such webinars.
To allow you to forget our organization name.
I'm sorry. The first time we are interacting. Next time, I'm sure.
I know.
Otherwise, you'll take me to court. I know. Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. Good day, gentlemen. Good day,
Thank you.
gentlemen. Thank you.
Okay. So,
Rajesh ji,
should I now invite Atharv Mankotia?
Yeah. I will, if you allow me, that I just want to give a one minute introduction to why Atharv is here.
Please, you do it. Yes, sir.
First of all, welcome comment from Sanjay, our colleague in PIO's Chamber of Commerce and Industry. Sanjay ji, welcome from Nigeria, all the way. I see you have grown your hair long in this COVID pandemic, huh? No, it's very important.
Trying to be in the newest style.
Yeah.
I see I can see one very stylish hair style by Shivam Kumar. So
I know.
Sometimes when we go up, now it's time to go down. You understand?
Yeah, so
with me is Munish ji and Rajesh ji. With your permission, I would like to request few of my colleagues from Nigeria to briefly introduce themselves, like Dhirendra ji, Venkat ji, Shanti ji, and Divesh ji.
Most welcome, sir. Most welcome.
Good afternoon, gentlemen. It's a pleasure and honor to be part of PIOCCI Nigeria. I'm Vice President at PIOCC Nigeria, and we are trying to make our industrial friends in Nigeria and India to come together on a platform where we can help trade and commerce. With your blessing and your support, we'll be able to achieve this goal. Thank you.
Okay, welcome.
Thank you, PIOCCI, for this opportunity. I really appreciate. My name is Venkat Subramanian, and it is really an honor to be a part of PIOCCI Nigeria, and looking forward to something big. Thank you.
Welcome, sir. Most welcome.
Anybody else there from Nigeria, or Sanjay, should I move on?
Good afternoon, sir. Good afternoon, sir. This is the Shanti Bhushan Singh.
Welcome, sir.
Thank you very much for this PIOCC to give me best and good knowledge. Myself, Shanti Bhushan Singh, we are also doing the small business here in Nigeria, and we are also looking the opportunity in India also, to which way maybe the PIOCC can support or can give the more information. So we have some outlook in India as well. Thank you, sir.
Munish, over to you.
So, I want to, so to all our colleagues, and, thank you, Rajesh, again, for bringing this issue up of overseas Indian and their connectivity with India. I have also invited another agency of the Government of India, just like Ministry of External Affairs. We work very closely with the Ministry of Commerce and Industry, and a beautiful entity created under the Ministry of Commerce and Industry, Government of India, is called Invest India. I will request my friend, my younger colleague, his name is Atharv Mankotia. He's a senior manager and at Invest India, to give a little brief background, one on Invest India and how they work with our institutions. So PIO, Chamber of Commerce and Industry, Antarashtriya Sahyog Parishad, also HRDI, we do different things, but we all engage in the common platform of connecting the diaspora with India and India with the diaspora. So an important event took place on 10th of January this year, before this COVID happened, where under the leadership of patronage of Professor Rajkumar Bhatia, who is our patron, he brought up this issue that we keep referring to, that the diaspora would like to economically engage with this new resurgent India, and particularly under this regime, when it is going out of its way to woo the diaspora, what should we do? So Rajkumar Bhatia brought this up with the Honorable Minister for Commerce and Industry, Mr. Piyush Goyal, and the minister readily said, let's create a platform and let's work on this together. So a beautiful platform was created and announced and launched on the 10th of January by PIO CCI together with Invest India, which is a part of Commerce and Industry Ministry, and the Ministry of External Affairs. It is called the PIO Investor Help Desk. It is your one-stop solution for all of us as overseas Indians who want to economically engage with India. Now, with that said, I want to bring in Athar. Athar, please unmute yourself and give a little background on this whole initiative and how you will connect all of the overseas Indians of every ilk and kind. It doesn't matter whether they are PIOs or OCIs or whatever they are. Okay, and encourage them to come to India and work with India. Please.
Very good afternoon and good morning to all the esteemed panelists and all the other colleagues that have joined. Thank you so much, Mr. Munish, for giving this opportunity and the warm introduction for Invest India and myself. Broadly, just for the audience, I'll just give a little refresher about Invest India. So we are a non-profit venture under the Department for Promotion of Industry and Internal Trade, DPIIT, which is part of the Ministry of Commerce and Industry and part of the Government of India. We are a quasi-government institute in the sense that while we are, 51% private, we have a mandate of working closely with government stakeholders in the entire drive towards ease of doing business. We started off, this entire platform was launched in 2009, but under the Make in India mission in 2014, Invest India really got its wings. And since 2014, we have been, the National Investment Promotion and Facilitation Agency for India. So essentially look at Invest India as the first point of reference for investors in India, where we help foreign investors. At least we used to help foreign investors exclusively coming into India. Our mandate, as the FDI has grown into India, and also given the vast technology, the vast innovation, the vast entrepreneurship spirit of India, our entire mandate has now widened, not just exclusively towards foreign investment. While we do look at FDI, we also work very closely with Indian investors at grounding, facilitating, and helping investments reach actualization. Over and above that, it's not just identification of investments. It's also to do with policy suggestions, issue resolution, anything to do with ease of doing business. So as you have seen, India's ease of doing business rank has gradually decreased over the last 4 or 5 years. We are one of the top 10 markets, for improvement. A lot of transparency has come into our processes. A lot of licenses, a lot of regulation has expedited. We're still far away from a lot of our peers where we want to reach. But the entire organization, Invest India, was set up to expedite that ease of doing business ranking, to help investors identify areas where they could invest and to streamline it. Now, India is a very vast country with various opportunities, various sectors, various ministries, various states. Invest India essentially was set up to bring all those opportunities, all that streamlining processing into one platform. I will just, after this entire discussion, share with you, some of the links both to our website as well as the portal that Mr. Gupta was talking about, which is the PIO Help Desk, which is also housed on Invest India's website. Just coming to now the PIO Help Desk. Again, this is something which was launched in January, earlier this year. It was a very big event launched by the Honorable Minister of Commerce and Industry earlier this year. It helps, or it is supposed to be a one-stop shop for any queries, any requests that PIOs, OCIs, etc. have that are looking at India as an opportunity for whether it be for any economic purpose, any business, any trade, etc. So we have 24/7 query portal where it is manned by real-time experts who will be within a span of 72 hours replying to any sort of queries, any sort of assistance that is required, whether it be identification of opportunities, whether it be to connect with certain JV partners, whether it be connecting with certain industry members, anything and everything to help our OCIs and help our PIOs look at India actively. It's a great portal which has also been leveraged quite a bit during the entire COVID situation. I'll just give you a couple of examples. Not just pertaining to business, but we've had some requests which have come pertaining to visas, certain requests as, or I won't call them SOSs, but there were certain times where certain people were stuck outside India during the entire COVID pandemic, and they were using very actively that entire platform to seek any sort of assistance they could. Invest India, along with all its colleagues, all its counterparts, all its stakeholders, whether it be the MEA, whether it be the other bodies that we work closely with, has helped facilitate several of these issues, several of these requests. We were able to process visas faster. We were able to get people onto flights faster, etc. So that platform which we use is manned and managed by a team of close to 150 odd people at Invest India. Use this platform as your one-stop query portal, your one-stop solution towards any information that you might require for the Indian market. We work very closely with several of the marquee bodies and marquee associations and organizations in India, whether it be the government or whether it be private players. We were initially supposed to be the bridge between industry and government, but now given this entire drive of how the government is very business friendly, we are just almost like an easing platform more than a bridge. So please do reach out to Invest India in case there are any queries that we can help you with. Our team will help you, and our team will respond to you within a matter of 72 hours. If there are any questions on the same, happy to take them.
Let me thank you, Athar, and that was very good, very in short a good summary. But let me emphasize this, Rajesh ji. When you asked me to speak about this subject, the reason I involved the Ministry of External Affairs and then Ministry of Commerce and Industry through Invest India is to demonstrate, on one side, the aspiration of the diaspora. And you have heard from the four friends who are here today from Nigeria, how eager, excited, voluntarily they are to engage with India. It doesn't matter whether they are NRIs holding Indian passport or they are PIOs, just Nigerian passport, no OCI card, or they could be an OCI.
Cards don't bother them. They are part of Indian
They're part. The point is that, look, India is today going out of its way to fulfill the promise that Prime Minister Modi made to the diaspora, saying, I will engage you in every form or fashion with India. And should you want to participate in the progress and prosperity that we are driving within India, please come and invest in India. So I think it's very important that organizations such as Invest India work as a one-stop shop, but connect us to various other central ministries that we might need connection with. Also state governments. MEA also has stationed its officers now with every state government and chief minister. And so has Invest India also started working with state governments. So I think it's an important platform for us to connect with. And I would close by saying that Government of India is still very actively considering if and how they can, one, make as many PIOs a part of this OCI card process by figuring out these institutions in countries that could certify people of Indian origin, because we can't. India cannot on its own. And secondly, the whole issue of right to vote. I think NRIs, the chapter is done. NRIs can vote. They can even do proxy voting. But the issue of dual citizenship, I don't think it's going to be solved this quickly and this easy. And you are an eminent lawyer, you know that, Rajesh ji. This is a complicated issue. Citizenship is not that easy. But I think bottom line is that diaspora wants to engage. India wants to engage with the diaspora. So we need to keep meeting our concerns or keep addressing our concerns at forums like these every now and then. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Athar, Mankotia. And Munishji, when we were designing this program, I was thinking that whether it's going to be worth it. But the day we started discussing in the way you started designing and promoting this program, and the way it has come out today, is I think I must have organized more than 1,000 events and so many webinars. But today is one of the most meaningful and impactful event. And I'm thankful to you because it all started, this idea came to our mind just we were discussing these things in the last more than 2 to 3 months. And what bothers me now, because our friend from Minister of External Affairs, he said that the bill with regard to the voting right of the NRIs lapsed, and then it is still pending. Yes. So now I will request you that let's be together and push it further so that the government of India, that enactment is there, it is passed, and it is duly notified as soon as possible. So if we can be together and do something in this regard, we would be very thankful to you.
I think we must do it. We must do it because, and I think the government is seriously inclined. It's just that in 2019,
at times what happens that things go on the background. So once the activist people and all those who are in the advocacy groups, they then remind the government, okay, sir, it is important. You wanted to do it, not do it now. Do it fast. So whether we can give some representation, or if the need is required, we can go to the court and ask the court, direct the Union of India to get it implemented as soon as possible. There are so many litigations of this kind. But anyway, you are there to strategize it. We are there to implement it. At your disposal.
No, thank you. And I think it's a very important issue. We should also keep the fire burning on the dual citizenship issue also. I think India down the line in some form or fashion will come up with it. But right now, implement these two things. NRI voting rights must be implemented, and a full conversion of all PIOs who are aspirants for OCI card must be done. These two issues are very, very important for India to keep looking forward, because you see, as India wants to now create a position of its permanent membership in the Security Council. You know, today we are fortunate that the Indian origin person has come as president in Guyana, in Suriname. You know, Mrs. Kamala Vishesha missed it by just a little bit in Trinidad and Tobago. It doesn't matter. But you see, all of these countries are today realizing that Indians play a very powerful but very meaningful role. We are not scoundrels. We are not cheaters. We don't get in and create conflicts. We do not create problems for that country. We become a part of that country, and we actually help the economy of that country. We also assimilate in that country culturally. And we bring India closer because of our connection with India. So I think every which way we look at it, India is helping out, and so should we in our desire to keep connecting with India. I would also like to make a mention of it that, you know, some people don't like what they heard about Kamala Harris. But Kamala Harris, let us not forget, is the first time a person of Indian origin, and that too a woman, has been nominated to a vice presidential candidate. She may or may not win. I don't know if Joe Biden will win, and because of that she will win. But the very fact that an Indian origin, and she is half Indian, you know, she is not third or fourth generation. She is first generation born Indian American to an Indian mother from Tamil Nadu. That's as Indian as it gets. And the very fact that she is there today in the race makes us proud. I think we should not dissect what her, you know, recent stand on this and that is.
That hardly matters.
That hardly matters.
That hardly matters.
But she is an aspirant, and she will be, you know, she'll be a part of the Indian culture. So as far as, I mean, we could talk about this subject forever, but if anybody has any questions or if anybody has any suggestions, a lot of our friends are here. If they have any guidance on any pathways we could take together, Rajesh ji as HRDI, PIO, CCI, and even Antarashtriya Sahyog Parishad, we are very open to it.
Rather eager to do it.
Yes. I would like to acknowledge the presence of Anil Vartak ji also. He's again a very special person and very eminent guide and supporter of our diaspora movement. Thank you, Anil.
And HRDI, and one of the founders and supporters.
Thank you for being us.
No.
And encouraging, guiding and supporting us.
नमस्कार अनिल जी, इसी बहाने आपको देखना हो गया.
अनिल जी नमस्ते, दिवेश हियर, कैसे हैं?
जी नमस्ते.
So this is a wonderful opportunity. Anil ji, आप कुछ ऐड करना चाहेंगे? मैंने तो अपनी तरफ से एक छोटा सा intervention, हम लोग overseas Indians क्या समझते हैं and what should be done एक बोला है, but please feel free. We have attended your webinar also a few weeks ago.
नहीं करेंगे.
आप कुछ ऐड करना चाहें तो बोलिए प्लीज.
नहीं अभी तो नहीं.
अच्छा.
Later on करेंगे.
मैं कुछ कहना चाहता हूँ. Hello.
Welcome sir. Welcome.
मैं हिंदी में बोलूं, समझ सबको आती है हिंदी ना, कोई प्रॉब्लम नहीं है।
Kindly introduce yourself, sir. Sir, kindly
ओके
introduce
जी,
yourself.
हाँ जी, मैं हिंदी में इंट्रोड्यूस करूंगा। मेरा नाम है दिवेश। मैं नाइजीरिया में करीब 15 साल से हूँ। अनिल वर्तक जिससे मैं मिला था पिछली बार दिल्ली में, शायद अगर आपको याद हो तो जैसे कि संजय जी ने बताया होगा, हम लोग नाइजीरिया में बहुत सारा काम करते हैं और बहुत सारे फोरम पे इन्वॉल्व हैं। अभी पूरी इंडियन कम्युनिटी ने मिलकर यहाँ एक बहुत बड़ा काम किया, एक हॉस्पिटल दिया है नाइजीरियन कम्युनिटी को गिफ्ट, करीब 500 मिलियन नायरा का एक प्रोजेक्ट। तो इंडियन कम्युनिटी मतलब बहुत कुछ किया जा सकता है यहाँ। और संजय जी और धीरेन्द्र भाई, आपका धन्यवाद कि आपने मुझे PIOCC से ज्वाइन कराया। अब मैं बेसिकली कंसल्टेंट हूँ और लास्ट 6 साल में कम से कम हमने 150 इंडियन कंपनियों को रजिस्टर किया है नाइजीरिया में। ठीक है, तो दो तरह से मैं इस रिलेशनशिप को देखना चाहता हूं और मैं आप लोगों को एडवाइस भी करना चाहता हूं अगर इसमें कुछ हो सके तो। पहला ये कि जैसे हमारे जैसे जो इंडियंस बाहर हैं वो क्या कर सकते हैं वहां उस देश में। जैसे कि आपको बताऊं, मैं बहुत सारे लोग हैं, ये पेंडेमिक के बाद नौकरी छूट गई, वापस चले गए इंडिया, लेकिन उनके पास टैलेंट है, स्किल है, उन्होंने बहुत सारी कंपनियों को हेल्प किया है ग्रो करने में। जैसे आपके सामने एक एंटरप्रेन्योर है शांति भूषण जी, इनको हमने इनकरेज करके जॉब से एक अपना बिजनेस स्टार्ट करवाया। तो इस तरह से बहुत सारे लोग हैं और बहुत सारा परमिटेशन कॉम्बिनेशन बैठ सकता है अगर हम ठीक से इसको देखें तो। बहुत सारे नाइजीरियंस भी हैं जो इंडिया में इन्वेस्ट करना चाहते हैं। तो उस पॉइंट पे मैं अथर्व जी से एक रिक्वेस्ट करूंगा कि मे बी हमारा जो यहाँ PIOCCI है उसमें आप किसी से बात करके उनको डेलीगेट कीजिए, या ये जो यहाँ की टीम काम करती है। तो क्योंकि मैं लागोस चैम्बर ऑफ कॉमर्स और इंडस्ट्री के साथ सालों से जुड़ा हुआ हूँ, जो कि वेस्ट अफ्रीका का नहीं, अफ्रीका का एक बड़ा चैम्बर ऑफ कॉमर्स और इंडस्ट्री है। तो उसमें उनको नाइजीरियंस कंफ्यूज हो जाते हैं। उनको क्या है कि दुबई अच्छा लगता है, अगर बहुत दूर गए तो सिंगापुर चले गए, लेकिन बीच में इंडिया छूट गया। तो इसलिए क्या है कि अगर हम उसको ये फैसिलिटेट कर सके कि नहीं, इंडिया में तुम्हारा एक पॉइंट, आपको मैं और एक चीज बताऊंगा, यहाँ दानगोटे का अच्छा इन्वेस्टमेंट है नेपाल में। दानगोटे इज वन ऑफ द बिग इंडस्ट्रियलिस्ट इन नाइजीरिया, लेकिन इंडिया में आई डोंट नो कितना है, लेकिन नेपाल में बहुत अच्छा इन्वेस्टमेंट है। क्यों? क्योंकि उनके एक बहुत बड़े ऑफिसर हैं मिस्टर थापा, वो उनको बार बार इंश्योर करते हैं कि ठीक है, जो कुछ भी है, नेपाल छोटा कंट्री है, मैं आपको सारी व्यवस्था करके दूंगा एक जगह से, और आप नेपाल चलिए हमारे साथ। ठीक है, तो एक ऐसा फोरम हो कि वन सिंगल पॉइंट कि जिससे हम इंडियंस नाइजीरियंस को लेके लिंक करें और वो इंडिया में इन्वेस्ट कर सके। ठीक है, एक तो मेरा एक आप लोगों का एडवाइस रहेगा कि ये अगर ऐसा हम लोग कर सके तो बहुत अच्छा रहेगा। दूसरी चीज जो ये आप लोग कर रहे हैं कनेक्ट करने के लिए, मैंने एक बहुत बड़ा मिशन शुरू किया इंडिया में इस कोविड में ही। हम चाहते थे कि अपने गाँव को क्या दें, क्योंकि गाँव से ही हम निकले, छोटे शहर आए, वहां से बाहर आए, फिर वहां से अफ्रीका आ गए। तो करीब 50 साल की उम्र है, तो सोचे एक बार चलो गांव की तरफ फिर चलते हैं। तो गांव के लिए एक मिशन प्लान किया हमने कि कनेक्ट योर विलेज, और उसका नाम रखा है वसुधैव कुटुंबकम भारत। ठीक है, और उसका यह है कि गांव में हम सारी सर्विसेज कैसे सप्लाई कर सकते हैं, मतलब गांव में हमको सारी सेवा मिले, पहली चीज। दूसरी चीज, गांव से हम क्या बाहर भेज सकते हैं। ठीक है, तो इन एंड आउट। और मैं आप लोगों से रिक्वेस्ट करूंगा, अगर आप किसी को इंटरेस्ट हो तो बताइएगा। मैं, हमारी मीटिंग होती है हर सैटरडे को, इंडिया की जो टीम है, इंडिया में एक टीम प्रोजेक्ट कोऑर्डिनेट कर रही है। सिमिलरली हमने नाइजीरिया में बनाया है कि जो नाइजीरिया में भी कनेक्टिविटी को बढ़ा रही है। एटलीस्ट ऐसे शहर जिसकी आबादी 3 से 4 मतलब लाख से ज्यादा हो, छोटे से लेके बड़े मतलब बड़े शहर तक। और नाइजीरिया में भी हमने करीब 7-8 शहरों में, यहाँ से लेके कानो तक, एक या दूसरा ब्रांच इनिशिएट किया। वो इसलिए किया है कि एक डायरेक्ट कोऑर्डिनेशन और कंट्रोल हो। जैसे कि आपको मैं एक छोटा सा उदाहरण दूंगा कि जैसे मान लीजिए कोई हमारे यहाँ काजू बहुत खाया जाता है, नाइजीरिया में काजू बहुत होता है, कैश्यू। अब क्या हो रहा है कि मेनली बड़े बायर साउथ में ले जाते हैं, लेकिन नॉर्थ इंडिया में छोटे छोटे, अगर 1 टन 2 टन 4 टन का कोई बिजनेस कर सकता है तो हम इसे यहाँ से डायरेक्ट लिंक लगाएंगे। तो उससे क्या होगा कि मिडिल मैन को कट करके वो डायरेक्ट बेनिफिट यहाँ के विलेजर्स को पास होगा, और गांव में भी हम छोटे छोटे यूनिट्स खड़े करेंगे बिजनेस के लिए। तो इस तरह का अपना एक प्लान है। तो उसके लिए हम क्या कर सकते हैं कि जैसे मान लीजिए इंडिया से भी, हाँ, एक और जो मेन चीज छूट रही है मेरी, वो क्या है कि मैं आपको बताऊंगा 2 साल पहले की एक स्टोरी है। एक एरिक एयरलाइंस थी, बहुत बड़ी एयरलाइंस थी यहाँ की, वो चल नहीं रही थी, ठीक है। और नाइजीरिया में, जैसे कि हमारे नाइजीरिया के बहुत सारे कलीग्स हैं, वो आपको कंसेंट करेंगे इस बात के लिए कि मैनेजमेंट का यहाँ छोटा छोटा बहुत सारा इशू होता है, जिसके चलते बड़ी बड़ी कंपनियां ऐसे ही दम तोड़ देती हैं, ठीक है। और इंडियंस के लिए ये एक बहुत बड़ी अपॉर्चुनिटी है। क्यों? क्योंकि जब आप लीड करते हैं फ्रंट से, तो आप वो भारतीयता अपने साथ लेके आते हैं और बहुत कुछ कर सकते हैं यहाँ। तो इस तरह का जो एक कैरेक्टर है और जो बिजनेस का जो एक्यूमेन है इंडियन में, उसको हम यूज करके यहाँ भी बहुत सारे टेक ओवर कर सकते हैं। जैसे कि मेरे पास, आपको विश्वास नहीं होगा, एक बैंक ऑफ इंडस्ट्री है, उसके थ्रू करीब $600 बिलियन के प्रोजेक्ट्स हैं। बीओआई बोलता है कि आप एक अच्छा आदमी लाइए, बहुत ज्यादा इन्वेस्टमेंट की जरूरत नहीं है, सिर्फ वो चाहिए कि वो बिजनेस को लीड कर सके और समझ सके।
दिवेश जी, इंटरेस्ट ऑफ टाइम मैं एक चीज आपसे, मेरी रिक्वेस्ट रहेगी। देखिए, वन ऑफ द पर्पसेस टू डू दिस, आज ये जो करने का पर्पस ये भी था कि हम सबको सब ऑर्गेनाइजेशन से इंट्रोड्यूस कर रहे थे। वी आर ऑल वर्किंग टुगेदर। तो पीआई ऑफ कॉमर्स एंड इंडस्ट्री, अंतर्राष्ट्रीय सहयोग परिषद, HRDI और बहुत सारे ऐसे लाइक माइंडेड, लाइक आइडियोलॉजी, लाइक फिलोसफी ऑर्गेनाइजेशंस हैं। तो हम चाहते थे कि सबको, स्पेशली यंगस्टर्स को और कुछ नए फेसेस को बताएं। तो आपके आइडियाज बहुत अच्छे हैं। मैं आपसे रिक्वेस्ट ये करूंगा, क्योंकि हमने एक पूरा उसको एक सेटअप क्रिएट कर दिया है PIO चेंबर ऑफ कॉमर्स एंड इंडस्ट्री में, जिसमें संजय जी उधर से लीड ले रहे हैं नाइजीरिया से। तो आप अपने PIO चेंबर ऑफ कॉमर्स एंड इंडस्ट्री नाइजीरिया के थ्रू हमें सजेस्ट करें। हेडक्वार्टर्स यहाँ पे दिल्ली में, PIO CCI का हेडक्वार्टर्स जो है दिल्ली में, और हमने एक पाथवे बना ली है अब इन्वेस्ट इंडिया के साथ। और इन्वेस्ट इंडिया अपने विद इन इन्वेस्ट इंडिया में वो हमें स्पेशलिस्ट देंगे, जो अफ्रीका की चीज अफ्रीका के साथ डील करेंगे, अमेरिका की चीज अमेरिका के साथ डील करेंगे। ऑलरेडी जैसे मैं आपको बता दूं कि अथर्व का बेसिक जो फोटे है इज टू डील विद अमेरिका, बट ही हैज सेवरल कोलीग्स। इनका तो बहुत बड़ा ऑर्गेनाइजेशन है, बहुत स्ट्रॉन्ग ऑर्गेनाइजेशन है। तो ही विल अलर्ट नाउ हिज अफ्रीकन कोलीग्स टू से कि भाई PIO CCI में एक बहुत स्ट्रॉन्ग क्वेरी आई है अफ्रीका से, उनके साथ मिलके PIO CCI। तो ये बड़ा सिंपल सा पाथवे हमने बना दिया कि कोई भी आपको कनेक्ट चाहिए ना, अब जैसे OCI कार्ड भी एक इंपॉर्टेंट कनेक्ट है, आज हम उस पर बात करें, लेकिन इकोनॉमिक कनेक्ट भी एक बहुत जरूरी कनेक्ट है, कल्चरल कनेक्ट भी बहुत जरूरी कनेक्ट है, बिकॉज उसके बिना हम लोगों की आगे फैमिली, जनरेशन या दूसरी कंट्री के साथ सब बेकार हो जाता है। तो हम मिल के करेंगे। तो आप प्लीज इसको PIO CCI के थ्रू, नाइजीरिया के थ्रू, संजय जी थोड़ा सा लीड लेकर, है ना। तो मैं आपको ये अश्योर करता हूँ कि हमने जो ये ट्रैक बना लिया MEA के साथ और कॉमर्स एंड इंडस्ट्री मिनिस्ट्री इन्वेस्ट इंडिया के साथ, ये बहुत दूर आगे जाएगा। ये एश्योरेंस राजकुमार भाटिया जी ने मंत्री जी से ली थी और उन्होंने पब्लिकली हमें दी है कि अब ये पाथवे काम करेगा। तो हम 3 बार ऑलरेडी वेबिनार कर चुके हैं। हमने जनवरी में इवेंट किया था, फिर एक मई में वेबिनार किया था, एक उसके बाद किया
के साथ
चीज है ना, और अब चौथा वाला कर रहे हैं HRDI के साथ। तो हम चाहते हैं कि एक प्रॉपर ट्रैक बन जाए जिसके अंदर सब हम मिलके एक दूसरे के साथ एक दूसरे को सपोर्ट करें। तो आइडियाज बहुत अच्छे हैं, बट ये फोरम नहीं है। आप वहां पे इकट्ठे करके इनको प्लीज एक डॉकेट करके भेजें, एंड वी विल मेक श्योर दैट इन्वेस्ट इंडिया विल रिस्पॉन्ड, एंड व्हाटएवर MEA हैज टू डू, MEA will also respond.
Thank you.
So if I may just come in, also part of the desk which looks at the Middle East and North Africa, that we mean pretty much the entire Africa. Wherever there might be any interest from Africa, Middle East, etc., we have again specialists from across the country, distributed sector region-wise. But you can streamline all the requests and queries through me. I've shared my email ID on the chat. I'll share it post this as well. Especially the likes of Nigeria, etc. We've been working very closely with some of our stakeholders to try and tap into the opportunities. As you mentioned, we'd like to be connected with companies such as those. Also companies of Indian origin who are looking at investing back into India. So we will be facilitating all your investment requirements and queries. And again, as mentioned, if you can just streamline the communication, share it with me, and I will disseminate it within my organization. We look forward to collaborating with this organization and all the chapters across the world, and all the investments, all the trade related information, anything that you require any support of. We have sector and country specialists who will be working very, very closely with you and your team on grounding those investments.
Thanks, Atharva. We have already received your email ID and we are going to connect with you today itself. Thank you very much.
बस धीरेन्द्र जी एक बात का ध्यान रखिएगा कि जो हमने पाथवे बनाई है ना, तो why don't you do this, that you please copy info@piocci.org. संजय जी बता देंगे. तो उसमें क्या होगा कि PIOCCI का हेडक्वार्टर दिल्ली में, somebody will be responsible. We have a full